Bible prophecy foretells the establishment of a world government in the end time. On the sidelines of the recent United Nations General Assembly, Germany and France launched the Alliance for Multilateralism. We will discuss the prophetic implications of this coalition on today's edition of End of the Age. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Robbins with Time Ministries. Thank you for joining me on this edition of End of the Age. Now, I'm going to be talking about an alliance that Germany and France initiated at the recent United Nations General Assembly, and it goes right along with the establishment, the ongoing fulfillment of the establishment of a world government in the end time. It's a 2,000-year-old prophecy. And we're even going to get into Daniel's vision, which is a 2,500-year-old prophecy. These things are coming to pass as we speak, letting us know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are living in the end time. But you get caught up in all of this other news media and this propaganda about impeachment and all these other things, and some of this stuff is happening and you don't even know about it. So we want to keep you informed on these things because prophecies are happening all around us. You know, if Endtime Ministries was just geared towards news, I've got a million stories we can talk about, but we're devoted to the prophecies of the Bible and how they're coming to pass, letting us know we're in the end time. And you know what? Even with our research team, it's hard to keep up with these prophecies because they're coming to pass so fast, and everything that is included in all of this stuff, there's news stories everywhere. So when I come in the mornings, and Irvin Baxter does the same thing, we've got to pick which topic we want to do. There's no way I could do all of them. And so we try to pick the one that's most relevant and to what's going on right now. And they're all relevant, but it's kind of a hard decision sometimes because they're all happening at the same time. So let's get off into what happened at the United Nations on the sidelines of the General Assembly just a few weeks ago that many of you may have missed. So back in Daniel's vision, Daniel chapter 7, you'll remember that in Daniel 7, Daniel saw 4 beasts, lion with eagle's wings, a bear, a 4-headed leopard, and a 10-horned beast, something like he had never seen before. These beasts symbolize nations that will be on the earth at the time of the second coming of Jesus Christ. I'm not going to take time to go through the whole lesson. I don't have time for that, plus to get into this alliance. So just have to take my word for it. But in Daniel 7, verse 6, the Bible says, "After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had on the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast had also 4 heads." So it's a 4-headed leopard, wings of a fowl on its back, and dominion was given to it. Well, we know that the leopard is Germany. And the 4 wings of a fowl on the back, that's France. And, you know, the leopard, Daniel 7:6, 4 wings of the fowl on his back. In consideration of the symbolism of the eagle's wings on the back of the lion, the correlation to Great Britain and the United States of America, we know now that the 4 wings on the back of the leopard was symbolic of who? Well, the official emblem of France is the rooster or the fowl. And ever since World War II, France and Germany have worked together under the Franco-German alliance to rebuild Europe. And together, they have built what today is really the powerhouse of the world, the European Union. The Franco-German alliance is behind that effort. I mean, almost all, it's the reborn Holy Roman Empire, during the original Roman Empire, almost every emperor was a Germanic king. So Germany has been dominant, the dominant nation in Europe, all the way back from the time of Charlemagne. And so, with that said, let's talk about the prophecy of a world government, because remember what happens is that Daniel 7 prophesied these four beasts which symbolize nations that will be on the earth at the second coming. But they're four separate beasts. When you go to Revelation chapter 13, they're all federalized into one big combo beast, or a world governing body. In Revelation 13:2, John said, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, had the feet as the feet of the bear, mouth as the mouth of the lion, and the dragon gave him his power, seat, and great authority." So if you think about it, Germany it makes up the body section of the end-time world government. In other words, Germany is going to be a major component of the end-time world government, if not the very power base of the Antichrist. Now, of course, that's speculation. I know he's coming from the European Union. I don't know specifically which nation, but Germany is given dominion in the end time here. The Bible's very specific about that. And so when we get back from the break, we'll talk about this Franco-German alliance and this world government, the ongoing fulfillment of world government. It's a 2,000-year-old prophecy, and it's happening right before our very eyes.
We've seen Bible prophecy fulfilled like never before. From the halls of the United Nations to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Time Ministries continues to reveal the Bible prophecy in the news headlines around the world every day. Whether it's through our broadcast or online at our Jerusalem Prophecy College, your gifts enable us to put vital materials in the hands of those who need it most. Because of you, we continue to replace fear with faith in the hearts of Christians around the world. We will continue to see prophecy come to pass at an even swifter pace. We need your support. Your donation of any amount enables us to continue to broadcast and be a voice in the ever-growing censored media. To become a partner or give a one-time gift, visit endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME right now. That's 800-363-8463. Go online now. Visit endtime.com.
Does the book of Revelation frighten you? Do its symbols confuse you? For centuries, the book of Revelation has been misunderstood and misinterpreted. In Revelation, the unveiling of Jesus Christ, Volume 1, Irvin Baxter unlocks the mystery of the book of Revelation with in-depth analysis and commentary like you've never heard before. This 10-part definitive DVD series and 268-page comprehensive commentary book covers the first 12 chapters of the book of Revelation, featuring on-location photography, classic artwork, and symbolic illustrations. You'll walk away with complete understanding and peace about the events happening during the final years on Earth. These comprehensive study tools, available for $299, will deepen your biblical understanding as you dig into the original intent of the book, answering the mysterious prophecies and symbols of the book of Revelation. Don't miss this special offer. Call now, 1-800-END-TIME, or go to endtime.com to order. Call or go online now to get this comprehensive Bible study.
So, the Federal News Network, it reports that France and Germany have launched an alliance to back multilateralism. You say, what in the world is multilateralism? Well, nationalism is the opposite of that, a nationalist government. So multilateralism would be nations gathered together in an effort to solve something. So multilateralism, in the guise of these articles, would be world government. When they talk about multilateralism, they're talking about global governing efforts, global cooperative efforts to solve something. So a proposed issue or something like that in the world. So France and Germany have announced, and you'll see it's global governance as I go down through here. France and Germany they announced the launch of the Alliance for Multilateralism, or an alliance of nations to support the world government to promote global cooperation at a time of rising nationalism in Europe and the United States and elsewhere. So Donald Trump kind of turned the world on its ear when he was elected, and he started pulling the United States out of world government and saying, hey, I'm a nationalist. Well, that goes against the international community and the efforts towards a world government. Well, France's Foreign Minister Le Drian and Germany's Foreign Minister Heiko Maas, they announced their first objective with this alliance is to show that states that support multilateralism and support the United Nations, they remain the majority in the world. States that support world government remain the majority of the world. Their second objective was to create a network of countries ready to support multilateralism or global governance to show the world what could be the consequences of unilateralism and isolationism. The difference here, enabling nationalism and extremist speeches to flourish. In other words, Donald Trump has just rocked the boat here, coming in and sharing his America First policies, and that goes against the efforts of a world government. So, he said the alliance, this article said that the alliance is a response to the risk of shattering the post-World War II world order, or the New World Order, the world government, that established the United Nations and other international institutions. So what happens is these guys see, France and Germany, they see that the United States led the efforts toward a world government after World War II. And now that Donald Trump has come on the scene and started pulling the United States out of that, France and Germany has taken the lead and said, hey, we need to make sure we form another alliance, this alliance for multilateralism or world government, and get as many nations as we can on board, because the boat's being rocked here and Donald Trump's pulling the United States, the most powerful member and the principal driver of that, out of this world governing body. So now everything's shaky. We really don't know what's going on. Somebody's got to take the lead. Germany and France have decided to do that. So it states that the United States President Donald Trump's speech soon after Guterres, now this is at the UN General Assembly, he poured scorn on multilateralism. Donald Trump did. Of course, he's touting his America First policy, and he rejected the ideology of globalism. He's done that all the way since he was campaigning to be president, and he's followed through on many of those promises. So that's why these guys formed this corporation. Le Drian said that the corporation, that's France's foreign minister, is never easy, but it is a key to security, because there is security only if it is collective. Now, collectivism is an effort to bring nations together, the collectivist group, towards the efforts of a world government. When you hear, in this instance, collective, but when you hear collectivism, capitalism, socialism, progressivism, all these isms, they're all about control, control, control. So when somebody says, no, socialism has nothing to do with communism, no, that's not true. Communists implement socialism on the way to capitalism, communism. So it goes on to say, and it is the best guarantee for the long-lasting practice, this collectivism. He said that the alliance is an inclusive alliance, but of course we see multilateralism under threat, or this threat, there's a threat to the world government, and all of those who want to join this initiative, get this, they should also declare themselves as multilateralists, or if you're going to join this group, you've got to declare that you're in alliance with the one world government. He said, we would be happy, of course, if the United States were to join this initiative, but this initiative has the aim to promote and strengthen the rules-based order, the New World Order, and strengthen the international order. So in the end, this is very key, in the end, everyone, they say, will have to decide on which side they're on. Are you for world government or are you against us? They're going to make sure if you get in this, you're going to pledge allegiance to this. Nobody that's against this is going to be allowed in. And so there's a lot of terminology like that that's scriptural. Everybody, will you pledge allegiance to this world governing body? Think about that when you think about the Alliance for Multilateralism that the Franco-German Alliance just initiated at the General Assembly. So, The Guardian mentioned the Franco-German Alliance for Multilateralism. It said the alliance is intended to act as a bulwark against the wilding. In other words, this world's going wild. The wilding of the world. Or some people are. And the abandonment of the rules-based order set up after 1945, i.e. the United Nations, the world government. And the initiative has inevitably been seen as a thinly veiled rebuke to the increasingly vocal advocates of national sovereignty, such as President Donald Trump. And this alliance is regarded by France and Germany as its most important joint diplomatic response to nationalism. They see the boats rocking, Donald Trump pulls out, and because Donald Trump has done it, it has emboldened some nations in the European Union. Nationalism on the rise, and so they're trying to squelch that, and they want to know who's on board with us. And so Le Drian said that the symptoms of a true wilding of the world accumulates, putting in peril the multilateral edifice which we collectively developed as we learned the lessons from two great wars, World War I and World War II. So they're telling us right here, this is exactly what we planned, a world governing body. The United Nations was the second effort towards a world governing body. You had the League of Nations, then the United Nations, and it's the ongoing fulfillment of this Bible prophecy given 2,000 years ago. So they're telling you right now, this is what we formed this alliance for, because there's a rocking of the boat, if you will. The foundation's becoming real shaky of this world order, but we need to press on. And this move came in the wake of Donald Trump's cutting the funding for the United Nations, withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council, UNESCO, and the Paris Climate Agreement, and which was a very good thing, because we were getting, the previous administration was sucking us into this world governing body, yielding up our sovereignties. And Donald Trump came along and has pulled us out of many of those. Now, Moss, with Germany, he claimed that the multilateralism was under threat, adding that all of those who want to join should declare themselves as multilateralist. And in the end, I want to say this again. They said this many times, in the end, everyone will have to decide which side they're on. So you're either with us or you're against us. And that's that's exactly what the Bible says is going to happen. Everyone whose name is not written in the Lamb's Book of Life, they're going to worship this entity. This entity will be all about worshiping or a pledge of allegiance. We want to know, are you with us or are you against us? This is where it's all leading to. And Deutsche Welle, I'll just spend a little moment on this. It says that the purpose of this Alliance for Multilateralism is to tackle global issues such as disarmament. Think about that. Digitalization and climate change. So they're not just going to say, hey, we want to know who all's on board. They're going to start taking care of business here. They're forming this alliance of people, and they're going to start working on things they may not be able to get done at the United Nations. They're going to support the United Nations, but they're going to start working, let's say, along with the United Nations to get things done. And, who's going to run it? I don't know. Germany and France have started it, and there's a lot of nations. And my Canadian friend, Pascal, sorry, but I think Canada is going to be on board with it. They've been meeting with them, so I don't know. We'll see how. I think you got elections or something coming up. We'll see how that goes. But here's a very key statement. It contradicted Trump's anti-globalist speech days before in which Donald Trump told world leaders that the future belonged to patriots and not globalists. So you can see that Donald Trump has rocked the world. When he came in, from 1945 all the way till the 2016 election, I guess it was held in 2015, that every president had supported this. Some of them were all in, and some of them were just kind of they were skeptical, but they were still, at the end of the presidency, we were all in of the United Nations support for a world government. They were globalists. I mean, George Bush Sr. was talking about, he's the one that you started hearing the term New World Order from. But of course, Roosevelt, or Franklin Roosevelt, put it on our dollar bill back in 1935. Novus Ordo Seclorum, New Order of the World. New World Order. So you say, well, what in the world's going on here? I didn't know about all this stuff. Well, there's a world government being created. The Bible says it's going to be created in the end time. We're watching the ongoing fulfillment of this. But the Bible says that the United States will not be involved in that. The United States, the eagle's wings in Daniel 7. They're not mentioned in that Revelation 13 combo beast. The United Nations is not going to, or the United States not going to be involved in this. So we always wondered, what's going to happen? Because for years, I mean for decades, Irvin Baxter tracked this. And we were headed we were the principal driver behind this world government. The United States was. So Irvin Baxter's sitting and thinking, what's going to happen to the United States? Well, when Donald Trump got elected, and in his campaign trail, he started talking about globalization, and globalism is a bad thing. Well, me and Irvin were sitting at dinner looking at each other going, you've got to be kidding me. Is it possible? Donald Trump, neither one of us really knew who he was. I knew he was a real estate developer and, things like that, but in New York, but come out of nowhere, started hammering socialism and globalism and all these different things, and I thought, we talked about it. And so, of course, when he got elected, he started following through on his promises, and now everybody, the international community, is howling about it. So what's really going on here? Let's talk about the world government for a second, because it's very important to what's going on with this alliance for multilateralism. Global elites have been for decades working to create a world government. The goal of that global governing system is so all-inclusive and minutely detailed, it will control every aspect of every person's life on the planet. The Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations blueprint for global governance, is all about controlling every aspect of your life and my life, right down to what you eat, what you consume, how much electricity, everything. And so the intention is to eventually regulate individual production and consumption patterns with the ultimate objective of thought manipulation resulting in absolute obedience and allegiance. Remember, they said, we want to know who's on our side and who's against us. So the outcome of these efforts is the formation of international institutions specifically designed to govern the world. Now, you guys will recognize many of them. They would include the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the International Criminal Court, the World Bank, World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. And that's just to name a few. And you say, I hear them in the news all the time, but I really don't know what they're designed to do. They're designed to govern the planet. The United Nations is the seat of this world government. So, you've heard the term. Myself, Irvin, we mention it all the time. New World Order. The New World Order is world government. When you read the term New World Order, liberal international order, multilateral order, things like that, that's world government. And so when I saw this alliance for multinationalism, multilateralism, man, I started reading and finding out what was going on. And they don't like what Donald Trump really has. He's the driver behind nationalism in the world today. They don't like what he's done. So they said, hey, we're going to form an alliance to promote world government or multilateralism. So let's talk about this New World Order. After World War II, the United States led the efforts to create the New World Order. And for the last 7+ decades, we were the principal drivers. Every administration since the founding of the United Nations, whether it was Republican or Democrat, they fully supported the New World Order. The Republican-Democrat thing, that's kind of just a ruse, really. When you voted years ago, for many years, regardless of who you voted for, you're kind of headed in the same direction at the end of their term. And so they were those that wielded vast amounts of power, of international power, along with the other 4 victor nations of World War II, these are the permanent members of the UN Security Council. They're China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, along with the United States. We were the 5 victor nations of World War II. So now we hold that permanent membership on that UN Security Council. And that veto power that those 5 members have, they have the power over any Security Council resolution. So needless to say, the United States is intricately involved in the establishment of this world governing body. And over that last 74 years, the world has looked to America for leadership in the implementation of this New World Order agenda. The fact of the matter is, though, is that Donald Trump started pulling us out of a lot of it. He's preaching nationalism in America first, and the international communities rocked back on their heels, so Germany and France just decided to do something about it.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter. This book by Irvin's grandson provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your relationship with God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at Endtime will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Get your book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
If ever people needed to hear the unvarnished truth, it is now. There are some subjects that are not politically correct to talk about, but they're urgent. That's why I'm grateful for Endtime magazine. If you're not a subscriber, you're missing information that will impact your life. Endtime has a bi-monthly magazine that explains how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. You can get a 2-year subscription for only $29. You can also get a bulk subscription and pass them out to your church. We have gotten reports that Endtime magazine has caused spiritual awakenings in churches when they see the prophecies being fulfilled right now. You can start your own ministry and leave them in doctor's offices, libraries, laundromats. You never know if you might be responsible for saving someone who is searching for the unvarnished truth. That's what the magazine has done in many lives. Call 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463 and get your subscription today.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archive button.
So I'm gonna get into a little bit more of this world government, but if my guys in my control room can help me, I'm gonna jump down to America's exit. But before I do, I want to announce a conference that a few conferences Irvin Baxter is going to be at, and this coming in, he's going to be at 3 of them. So America's God-given destiny. Irvin Baxter's going to be teaching Thursday, October 17th. From 7 to 8:30 p.m. and True Life Apostolic in Columbia, Missouri. That's 211 Benton Street, Columbia. So that's this Thursday night. So kind of unique. Normally it's a Saturday night, Sunday morning. And now he's going to be there this Thursday evening. And then he's going to be teaching Trump, Jerusalem, Armageddon, Friday, October 18th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. That's at the United Pentecostal Church in Palmyra, Missouri. That's 1210 South Home Street. And then on Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m., he's going to be teaching America's God-Given Destiny in the sanctuary in Paris, California. And that's 3845 Paris Boulevard, Paris, California. And then on Sunday morning, he's going to be doing Breaking Prophetic Fulfillments from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, that's at the same place, the sanctuary, 3845 Paris Boulevard in Paris, California. So if you want to join Irvin at any of these conferences, if you need all the information, go to Endtime Ministries or endtime.com, the events section, and go to the conferences. And perhaps Irvin will be in your area this coming weekend. Now, for several decades, the United States was the absolute leader of this one world governing body. We had helped to establish the United Nations. FDR was a globalist. He believed in a world government. And so on the heels of 1945, the concentration camps were liberated. The United Nations was established. The bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so right on the heels of that, the charter signing for the United Nations occurred. So it was already in the works. But America is exited. Remember I talked to you about in Revelation 13, the eagle is not mentioned there. It let us know that America would not be involved in that one world governing body. So, from the signing of the United Nations Charter in 1945 until 2016, the presidential election, it was clear the United States was in full compliance with this world governing system. Some presidents proceeded, like I said, they were cautious, okay? While others, they just blundered forward. They were drunk on the dreams of a fully functioning world governing system. But no matter who was in office, at the end of their administration, we still seemed headed in the same direction. They didn't, in other words, none of them came in and started yanking us out of all these different things that Donald Trump did. And if I have time, I'll get into some of those. But knowing the prophecies foretell America's exit from that world governing system and the rate at that which end-time prophecy is being fulfilled, we knew that the political atmosphere in Washington had to change, and soon. This would have been prior to 2015. Under the Obama administration, the U.S. pursued a policy of globalism. I mean, full on. If Hillary Clinton would have got elected, we would have been so far down the road towards being enmeshed in this world government, I don't know if we could have gotten out. Because she was going to be, you realize Hillary Clinton would have been Obama on steroids, okay? So President Obama, he was a big proponent of this emerging system of global governance. He signed us on to the Sustainable Development Goals. It was during his administration. And, you know, he wasn't the only one. He was the previous administration, but the Bushes, Clinton was a liberal internationalist. I mean, for decades, we've been just slowly moving into this world governing body. But President Obama, he threw America's borders open. He was refusing to enforce the immigration laws. During the 2016 election campaign, Hillary Clinton promised to continue the globalist policies of Barack Obama. But on the other hand, and we didn't know this because, again, we didn't know Trump. But when Donald Trump came along and he started giving his speeches, he strongly opposed globalism and open borders. He started saying, we're going to build a wall. And we were like, well, hold on a second. That's against the world government. I mean, can this be? And, you know, he wanted to control the borders and restore American sovereignty. Well, that's against the international community in these efforts towards world government. He kept many of the promises to stand against globalism, and that's the main reason behind this alliance for multilateralism. Globalists want to know who's with us and who's against us in this effort to govern the planet? Well, obviously they're finding out Donald Trump isn't. In his first speech at the United Nations, Donald Trump vowed to put America first. He said, the greatest words in the United States Constitution are the first three beautiful words, we the people. Generations of Americans have sacrificed to maintain the promise of those words and the promise of our country and our great history. In America, the people govern, the people rule, and the people are sovereign. He said, I was elected to take power, but to give power to the American people where it belongs. Now, these globalists, they do not believe that. They believe that the government should rule the people, especially and they really want a world government to govern every person on the earth. That's what their goal is. But Donald Trump came along and said, my job is to give the power back to the American people. You've heard these things. I've seen it on Facebook and different times where there's Donald Trump is sitting there and he said, hey, the media and everybody that's attacking me, they're really after you, the American people. I'm just in their way, or something like that. Well, that's absolutely true. If they can take down Donald Trump and get a globalist put back in the White House, we'll head right back off into world government. That's really the tug of war that's going on here. And so Donald Trump said, I want to give power back to the American people where it belongs. And in foreign affairs, he said, we are renewing this founding principle of sovereignty. Our government's first duty is to its people, to our citizens, to serve their needs, to ensure their safety, to preserve their rights, and defend their values. As President of the United States, I will always put America first. Well, imagine being a globalist, somebody working day and night to establish a world government, and sitting there and hearing that speech. They were rocked back on their heels. Some of them probably fell out of their chairs right there in the General Assembly because he was putting it right in their face. It's America first from now on, everybody. So the question is, did Donald Trump actually mean what he said about globalization or the process of becoming further entrenched in a global governing system? I mean, he went on to say, we will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism. I mean, he's calling them right out. He's in the United Nations giving this speech. He's in the seat of world government giving a speech against globalism. He said, I'm skeptical about international unions that tie us up and bring America down. Well, he's sitting in the seat of it. Or he's standing there giving a speech, and he said, under my administration, we will never enter America into any agreements that reduce our ability to control our own affairs. He said the nation state, now this is one of the things that they've been trying to do for years, to do away with the nation state, tear down our borders, and yield up our sovereignty to a one world governing body. Donald Trump comes along and says the nation state remains the true foundation of happiness and harmony. So he's in the United Nations just throwing it right in their teeth. And then, at that point, the globalists are so upset because Donald Trump is working to his plan to put America first and not the world government. They were taken aback and they were howling. Of course, they were attacking him. And what happens? They immediately, Sean Hannity put out a real good timeline where the opposing side, people who were pro-global governance, now they can say, no, I'm not. But at the end of the day, it was the establishment. And the establishment is devoted to world government. When it's all said and done, Hannity put out a timeline. I think you can go on YouTube and watch it, where they've been trying to impeach him from the get-go. He had never even done anything yet. And they were automatically talking about impeachment. Well, the fact of the matter is he actually did do something, and he started talking about America first, and he was against globalism, and the establishment here in America couldn't stand that. And so they started talking about, we got to get this guy out of office. So it was impeach, and just start hammer down on him. And, I mean, you've seen the stories about the CNN thing. If you haven't, go to Drudge. I don't think I'm going to talk about that, but go look at what happened with CNN over the weekend, the guy that had the hidden camera. I mean, you know, you can judge whether it's true or not, but at the end of the day, you got to think about that kind of stuff. So what did Donald Trump do? Well, the first thing he did was you know, when you think about the Sustainable Development Goals, and you've heard about all this propaganda from the United Nations, and that's what it is, absolute propaganda about global warming, which leads to climate change and this, that, and the other. They signed the Sustainable Development Goals and a Paris Climate Agreement. Donald Trump came along, and President Obama signed us on to that. Donald Trump came along and withdrew the United States from that agreement. And when he did that, I mean, myself, Irvin Baxter, our research team were sitting around talking and thinking, this guy's doing it. He's pulling us out of the world governing body. I mean, the Paris Climate Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals, they are twin efforts designed to specifically govern the entire planet. And without the one without the other, it's pointless. The Sustainable Development Goals, they were unanimously adopted by all 193 nations of the United Nations back in September of 2015. The United Nations, it's their global governing plan, and it's called Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. According to the United Nations' own website, they say the 17 Sustainable Development Goals demonstrate the scale and ambition of this new, here it is, the universal agenda. They want to govern the world with this. The Sustainable Development Goals are an effort by the United Nations to control every aspect of every person's life on the planet. I don't have time to get into all of this in great detail. If you go read through some of that stuff, I mean, it's like reading an encyclopedia, but I'm telling you, if you do your research, you'll see how in detail they want to govern your life. And I'm telling you, this 5G network, it's going to have its way in it with the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything. It's all going to be tied in together. Rick Brenniger wrote a great article coming out in our November-December issue about all the ways they're tracking and trying to control people, social credit systems and all these different things. So I'm telling you, this stuff's coming down as we speak. We're in the end time. We're really just racing to try to keep you guys up to date on all of it, because there's so much happening at the same time. I mean, when we say we're not looking for the end time to begin, I'm telling you, that's the absolute truth. We're way off into the end time. We're at the culmination of a lot of this stuff, not the beginning.
Does the book of Revelation frighten you? Do its symbols confuse you? For centuries, the book of Revelation has been misunderstood and misinterpreted. In Revelation, the unveiling of Jesus Christ, Volume 1, Irvin Baxter unlocks the mystery of the book of Revelation with in-depth analysis and commentary like you've never heard before. This 10-part definitive DVD series and 268-page comprehensive commentary book covers the first 12 chapters of the book of Revelation, featuring on-location photography, classic artwork, and symbolic illustrations. You'll walk away with complete understanding and peace about the events happening during the final years on Earth. These comprehensive study tools, available for $299, will deepen your biblical understanding as you dig into the original intent of the book, answering the mysterious prophecies and symbols of the book of Revelation. Don't miss this special offer. Call now, 1-800-END-TIME, or go to endtime.com to order. Call or go online now to get this comprehensive Bible study.
So, in this agenda by the United Nations, they say, obviously, one of the main areas of critical importance is the planet itself. Well, the planet's important to all of us. But I can tell you right now that we all serve a God that created this planet and created us. And He will take care of the planet. We just have to worry about taking care of His goals, His plans, and building His kingdom. You do that, the Bible says all the rest of this stuff will be added unto you. Take no thought what ye shall eat, drink, or wear. Your Heavenly Father knows you have need of these things. seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, all that stuff will be added unto you. So your job is to build the kingdom of God. God will take care of the planet. He's taking care of it anyway. But the United Nations, which is humanistic, they believe that, it's a humanitarian organization, they believe that they should control everything. Even though they can't control the weather, it's all propaganda, everybody. According to this 2030 agenda, they say we are determined to protect the planet from degradation, including through sustainable consumption and production, sustainably managing its natural resources, and taking urgent action on climate change so that it can support the needs of the present and future generations. This is the reason, everybody, for the Paris Climate Agreement. Without a commitment from every nation to curb their greenhouse gas emissions, it's impossible to achieve the sustainable development goals. Well, now you can understand the importance of what Donald Trump did. When he withdrew us from the Paris Climate Agreement, everybody, this is their big plan. It's one of the main aspects to the Sustainable Development Goals. Donald Trump came along and said, nah, we're pulling the United States out of that. Climate change is a hoax. Well, now you understand this is one of the reasons for the Alliance for Multilateralism is to protect the climate. And so, because they're rocked back on their heels, I mean, one right after another. And so it's like watching Mike Tyson fight somebody. And everybody's getting rocked back on their heels. Well, that's kind of what Trump's doing to the United Nations. And so the second thing was, now, I want to preface this. The socialism at the United Nations. I mean, Donald Trump come along hammering socialism. And so think of it like this. From its inception, the United Nations was designed to be a socialistic, one world governing body. The original UN Charter was written by Alger Hiss, who was later revealed to be a communist spy. To this day, not one word of the original charter has changed. So one of the main planks of socialism is wealth redistribution. In the United Nations Global Governing Plan, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, under the subtitle New Agenda, it says this will only be possible, this plan will only be possible if wealth is shared and income inequality is addressed. There it is. The 2030 Agenda is nothing more than the United Nations socialistic plan to govern the world, to redistribute the wealth of the world, but not to help the people, because the wealth that they redistribute normally ends up in the coffers of the governments and these leaders and the globalists. It's not to help the people. That's why all these socialistic nations, the people end up in abject poverty, but yet their leaders are just fabulously wealthy. How do you think that happens? Venezuela or something like that. It's all about greed. It's all about control. Socialism, remember this, no matter what you were taught in college and this, that, and the other, socialism is all about control. It's not about free college and free health care and government guaranteed jobs and all that stuff. That all sounds good, but at the end of the day, that's not what socialism is. It's all about control. Okay? And the United Nations is a socialistic one world governing body. Antonio Guterres, the current Secretary General of the United Nations, he was president of the Socialist International from 1999 to 2005. And prior to this, he had been a Socialist International vice president between 92 and 99. So, as well as the chair of the Socialist International Committee on Economic Policy and Development and the Environment. So socialism, always remember this, socialism is the political ideology of the international community. Most nations on the earth have this socialistic ideology already running. They've got those juices flowing. Socialism. The United States is one of the last bastions of freedom on the planet. And that's why when Donald Trump started pulling us out of some of these things, the international community vehemently hates him. You wonder why when he gets up and puts his feet on the floor every morning, he knows this is what he's facing. So when he goes to the United Nations and he hammers socialism, he knows exactly what he's doing. Now, a lot of people have taken what we're saying, hey, you guys are big Trump supporters and this, that, and the other. I would be talking like this. I don't care who it was. If they were doing the same things Trump has done, I mean, I don't know. I've never met Trump. The fact of the matter is he's doing so many things that are prophetic. We have to talk about it. I don't care if it was Mike Pence or who it was. I'd be talking the same way about them. Because the guy coming in, pulling us out of world government, I'm thankful for that. I don't care who did it. And so we all should be thankful for that. I don't want to be caught up in the world government in the end time. God is going to judge that entity. And so I want to make sure I'm on the right side of this thing. You know, that with these people that are over this, the French and the Germans, they're saying we want to know who's with us or who's against us. The fact of the matter is, I'm against it. I don't want to be part of that. I'm not going to pledge my allegiance to any world leader, any government, anything like that. The only reason I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States is because it's one nation under God. My allegiance is to God, number one, period. Because this is a Christian nation, I support this, and I love it. It's my home. And so that's, you know, we got to talk about this stuff because we're all living here. Now, those of you that are living around the world, I mean, you know, we'll have to talk about different nations perhaps at some point. Maybe that would be a new program in the future. Talking about different nations, i.e. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe. I mean, I've got friends in all those places. And we talk about Israel all the time. And, you know, I mean, we need to talk about that. I've got friends in a lot of nations around the world. Perhaps we should do a program devoted to not the United States. But the fact of the matter is, I'm sitting here in Dallas, Texas right now, and I just heard about this and they're kind of coming against Donald Trump. So I wanted to bring it before you guys today because this world government, we're so far off into this. I mean, it's not going to be very many years from now when the Antichrist is going to come on the scene. And I mean, you notice who's over this right now, Germany and France. You say, will the Antichrist come up from Germany? At this point, I don't know that for sure. I know that most of the original emperors in the Holy Roman Empire were Germanic kings. But can I prove it scripturally that the Antichrist will specifically come from Germany? No, I cannot. Can I prove it scripturally that he will come from the Holy Roman Empire, the reborn Holy Roman Empire, or the current European Union? Absolutely. That's really pretty easy to explain prophetically. Now, a lot of people have taught that the Antichrist is going to come from the Middle East region. The Antichrist will not come from the Middle East region. He's going to come from a reborn Holy Roman Empire, which is the current European Union. Again, you know, we've done many programs on that. I may do one here in the future just to kind of clarify things. But I can't prove specifically Germany or France. I can't prove scripturally. So at this point, it's strictly speculation. Now, let me move on here because I want to make sure you get some of this information. On September 19th, back in 2017, during his first speech as President of the United States at the United Nations. Now remember, we're talking about the Paris Climate Agreement, and the Sustainable Development Goals were signed by Obama in 2015, just before he leaves office. Well, now we're in 2017. Donald Trump is at the United Nations giving a speech, and he says, the problem in Venezuela. Now remember, the United Nations is socialistic. They are a socialistic, one world governing body. Donald Trump says, the problem in Venezuela is not that socialism has been poorly implemented, but that socialism has been faithfully implemented. I mean, he's coming right down their aisleway there. And he says, from the Soviet Union to Cuba to Venezuela, wherever true socialism or communism has been adopted, it has delivered anguish and devastation and failure. Those who preach the tenets of these discredited ideologies only contribute to the continued suffering of the people who live under these cruel systems. He's standing right there in the seat of world government, a socialistic world government, and he hammers socialism. And so now you know why the international community is against him. Because up until Donald Trump from 1945 to 2016, nobody did that. Everybody offered their support for the United Nations, Republican or Democrat. But Donald Trump comes along and starts hammering socialism. And we should be thankful for that. I mean, there's a lot of people vying for office right now that claim to be socialists and want to give you a lot of free stuff to get elected, not having a clue how they're going to pay for all that. They would bankrupt a lot of people trying to pay for it. And so you got to think about that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you remember there are several things that Donald Trump has done, and which is why, as the articles that I've read, the main reason that Germany and France wanted to start this alliance for multilateralism or in support of a world government is because of what Donald Trump has done. I've only given you a few. I mean, think about it. Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem. I mean, this was a huge one because the previous administration was anti-Jerusalem, anti-Israel. And so, I mean, the Obama administration allowed Resolution 2334 to pass, which said that Israel's right to East Jerusalem was against international law. Think about that. And so Donald Trump comes along and recognizes Jerusalem. You can see the about face, recognized Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital. And so what a difference Donald Trump has made. And the fact of the matter is that we're full off into a world government. It's a 2,000-year-old prophecy coming to pass right now. I wanted to bring you up to date on it. You may have missed it in the news, but it happened at our recent General Assembly. They've been talking about it for a while, but the fact of the matter is that they initiated it, they launched it at the UN General Assembly just a few weeks ago. So I'll keep on top of it, and I'll keep you up to date on what's going on in future programs. But folks, we're living in the end time. We're not looking for the end time to begin. We're in the end time right now. God bless each and every one of you.
This has been End of the Age, brought to you by the faithful partners of Endtime Ministries. If you're not currently a partner with Endtime Ministries, or if you would like more information, we invite you to call us at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or visit us online at endtime.com.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.